Hey, this is Tony Jones for the Hardest Question. This week I am alone without my dear friend, the Reverend Russell Rathbun. But we'll be back together next week, so don't fret, don't lose hope. But this week I am in dialogue with my dear friend and preacher and hermeneut extraordinaire, Nadia Bolz-Weber. In fact, I would say that Nadia is a charismatic hermeneut, non-perile. That's what I would say. Because Nadia is able to dig into a text and dig into herself in a way that I think always reflects the very best on the text, even when it's tricky, and always comes consistently from the perspective of the Lutheran confession, which is that each of us is, as Nadia has tattooed on her arm, both simultaneously a saint and a sinner. And this text, as she notes in the post for the week, will obviously, a lot of people, I think a lot of preachers will say, well, isn't that interesting that on 9/11, on the 10th anniversary of 9/11, we have a text that is about forgiveness. And Nadia is right. In some ways, the hardest part of the text is finding a way to forgive others. But I think there's a harder part, a harder question in the text. And it's a theological question, and I think it's even a moral question. And that is the moral of the parable, maybe not when Jesus says, how many times should I forgive somebody who sinned against me? 77 times, he tells Peter. But then this parable, which I'm looking at over here, that's why I'm looking away from you, about the unforgiving servant, in which the master forgives the servant a debt, and then when he finds that the servant has not acted likewise, this is the tricky part for me. The Lord summoned him and said to him, "You wicked slave!" Shouted at him, really. "I forgave all that debt because you pleaded with me. Should you not have had mercy on your fellow slave as I had mercy on you?" And in anger, his Lord handed him over to be tortured until he should pay his entire debt. And then Jesus goes on to give the moral of the story. "So my heavenly Father will also do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother or sister in your heart." Well, this is troubling, I think. That this is the hardest question of this text, is that Jesus is saying you should forgive as the Lord forgave you, but what the Lord seems unwilling to forgive is you not being forgiving. You see, the slave was not forgiving, and that, it seems to me, is unforgivable, and he gets tortured until he repays his debt. As opposed to being forgiven for being unforgiving, he's out. That's a tough question, and it's one that we'd love to hear if you're wrestling with it as you prepare this text to preach on this week. And if you do, drop a note, drop a line, drop a comment on thehardestquestion.org. And hey, for all of you for whom this is, come back to church Sunday and homecoming Sunday and kickoff Sunday, good luck. Hope a lot of people come back and you have a great gathering this Sunday. Thanks for being a part of the community that is the Hardest Question.